AITA for leaving a resignation letter after my wife mocked my career at our anniversary dinner? 20 years with the same boring job. He is never going to be anything. At our wedding anniversary dinner, in front of 37 guests, that was the tribute my wife chose to give. She thought she was being the life of the party, turning her husband into the butt of the joke. What she did not realize is that, while the guests gave awkward laughs, her husband was mentally signing the end of that relationship. The next morning, she woke up to something much more real than a hangover. A letter of resignation from the marriage and a business card that made it clear her boring husband was finally seeking a partnership that turned an emotional profit. I was near the kitchen counter, holding a beer and talking to her brother about plans for the weekend, when she decided to turn me into the evening's entertainment. The conversation had shifted to career changes, and that was when she saw her cue. "Oh, please," she said, gesturing toward me with her wine glass. "Look at him. 20 years at the same company, same desk, same routine. He clocks in at 8, eats the same turkey sandwich for lunch, and gets home at 5:30, punctual as a clock." The room became visibly quieter. Her sister tried to change the subject, but my wife was just getting started. "I keep telling him to take risks, apply for better positions, maybe start his own business, but no. He is perfectly content being ordinary." She paused for dramatic effect. 20 years with the same boring job. He is never going to be anything. That was when the awkward laughter started. The kind of laughter where people do not know if they should laugh or pretend they did not hear it. Her college friends laughed nervously. My brother-in-law looked at his shoes. Her mother even shook her head in disapproval but nodded at her daughter's words, looking at me as if confirming the assessment. I did not react, at least not visibly. I took a sip of my beer, nodded politely, and let her continue. "I mean, we could have so much more right now if he had any ambition. Look at the Whitaker family." She pointed in the direction of our neighbors who were not even at the party. "He started 3 companies, failed at 2, but the third one made them millionaires. That takes guts. As for this one," she gestured toward me again, "this one plays it safe." Her voice carried that condescending tone she had been perfecting for years, the one that made everything sound like a gentle suggestion while it was actually a direct attack. "Sweetie," her friend tried to intervene. "Maybe we should talk about something else." "No, it is fine," my wife continued. "He knows I am right. Don't you, honey?" She looked at me expectantly, waiting for me to defend myself or agree with her assessment. I placed my beer on the counter calmly. "You are absolutely right," I said. "Some people really do need to make changes." She smiled, thinking she had won some kind of victory. "See? He understands." But I was not finished. The secret is recognizing when something is no longer working and having the courage to move on. I looked directly at her. Even if it means leaving behind something you have invested 20 years in. The double meaning was not lost on everyone, but she was too caught up in her moment to notice. She laughed and raised her glass. "To new opportunities and better partnerships." "I will drink to that," I replied, finishing my beer. The party continued for 2 more hours. She kept making small comments here and there, each designed to reinforce her point about my lack of ambition. When her cousin mentioned a promotion, she said, "It must be nice to work with people who actually want to get ahead." When someone talked about vacation plans, she mentioned how we always went to the same lake house, because some people do not like change. I watched it all unfold with a strange sense of detachment. 23 years of marriage, and I was seeing clearly for the first time. Not the woman I fell in love with, not the partner I thought I was building a life with, but someone who apparently had been keeping score this whole time and found me lacking. The worst part was not even the public humiliation. It was the realization that this probably was not the first time she had spoken about me this way. How many conversations with her friends started with, "Do you know what my husband did now?" How many times did she roll her eyes when my name was mentioned? At 10 p.m., the last guests were saying their goodbyes. Everyone hugged and thanked us for a lovely evening, though I noticed some people gave me those pitying looks you give someone after a funeral. "That went well," she said, kicking off her heels in the living room. "I think people had fun." I was putting the glasses in the dishwasher. "Yes, plenty of entertainment." She did not catch the irony at all. "I am exhausted. I am going to bed." She stopped at the foot of the stairs. "Can you finish cleaning up? I know you like everything in its place." Another little jab. Another reminder of how predictably boring I apparently was. Sure, I said. I will take care of everything. She went upstairs, probably already planning tomorrow's activities, completely oblivious to the fact that she had just hosted the last anniversary dinner she would ever organize as my wife. I finished cleaning the kitchen, turned off the lights, and sat in my home office. For the first time in 23 years, I was planning something that would definitely surprise her. She was snoring by 11:15, the kind of snoring that comes after too much wine and the satisfaction of publicly humiliating your spouse. I sat in my office until 2 a.m., not in anger, but focused. I opened my laptop and began typing a professional and definitive letter of resignation. After 23 years of service, I hereby submit my resignation from this position, effective immediately. Recent performance reviews have made it clear that my contributions are no longer valued. I believe it is in the best interest of both parties to seek new opportunities. I printed it, signed it, and put it in an envelope. Next, I gathered our financial records, bank statements, investment accounts, retirement funds. 23 years of shared finances spread across my desk. The image was revealing. My boring job had funded her comfortable lifestyle. The steady income she mocked had paid for her yoga classes, shopping trips, and the anniversary dinner that night. At 3 a.m., I was researching divorce lawyers. I found 3 with excellent reviews and sent consultation emails. I also organized the money, not hiding it, just moving funds into accounts she rarely checked. Emergency funds seemed appropriate for this situation. The calmest I had felt in years, no anger, just cold clarity, like finally waking up from a dream. I thought about her pattern over the years, comments disguised as jokes, the way she sighed when I talked about work. Countless times, she suggested I think big, while enjoying all the benefits of my steady approach. By 4:30 a.m., I had replies from lawyers willing to meet within days. I closed the laptop and designed something special on the front of a business card. Opportunity for a new partnership. Someone who values potential. On the back, my contact information with only serious applications accepted. I printed 50 cards on cardstock. At 5:15, she was still snoring. I showered, dressed, and had breakfast. My last breakfast in this house as her husband. I left at 7:30, as always. But first, I placed the resignation letter on her nightstand next to her phone. I tucked a business card inside the envelope. The drive felt different. Every familiar street looked the same, but the feeling was completely different. During lunch, I met with a lawyer specializing in strategic divorces. "You seem remarkably prepared," she observed, reviewing my documents. "I have always been meticulous. Apparently one of my boring qualities," I smiled. "Boring people usually do not walk into my office this organized. We discussed the process, the timeline, and the likely outcomes based on our assets." I finished work and went home at 5:30. Her car was in the driveway. The lights were on. I could hear her on the phone, her voice tense and worried. 5:42 p.m. She had had 10 hours to find the letter. Time to see how my predictable wife handles something completely unexpected. I walked through the front door at exactly 5:45. She was pacing in the living room, phone pressed to her ear, the crumpled resignation letter in her other hand. "No, Mom, I am not exaggerating. This is serious." She looked up when she heard me come in. "I have to go. He is here." She hung up and held the letter up as if it were evidence in a trial. "What is this supposed to be? Some kind of joke?" Her voice had that forced laugh people use when they are trying to convince themselves something is not real. I put my keys on the counter and loosened my tie. It is exactly what it looks like. A letter of resignation from our marriage. She shook the business card. "And this ridiculous thing about partnership opportunities? You made it clear last night that I lack ambition and that I will never be anything. I am simply following your advice and seeking better opportunities." She stared at me as if I had started speaking a foreign language. "I was only joking. People say things at parties, you know? I did not mean it." Funny. It did not sound like a joke when you said it 3 times, or when you compared me to other husbands who had real ambition, or when you got laughs at my expense. I went to the kitchen and opened a beer, the same brand I have been drinking for years. Apparently another boring and predictable choice. "You are being ridiculous," she said, following me. So I made a few comments. "Big deal. Married couples joke with each other. Jokes happen between equals. What you did was different." I took a sip. "You publicly appraised my value as a husband and found me lacking. So, I am accepting that appraisal. Her phone buzzed. She looked at it, and her face changed. Who did you tell about this? Tell about what? Your sister just texted asking if everything is okay between us. Someone talked. I shrugged. News travels fast in small circles. Maybe people remember what you said last night. She sat down heavily at the kitchen table. This is insane. We have been married for 23 years. You cannot just quit because of one bad night. One bad night. I leaned against the counter. What about when you introduced me at your company picnic as the most reliable man in America and everyone laughed? Or when you told your book club I was allergic to risk? Or last month, when you said I had the entrepreneurial spirit of a fern? Each example hit like I was reading a list. And in a way I was. I had been keeping mental notes for years. Those were just, she stopped. I talk when I am frustrated. It does not mean anything. It means everything. It means you have been appraising our partnership for years and broadcasting your disappointment to anyone who would listen. My phone rang. I looked at the screen, the lawyer's office. Excuse me, I need to take this. Don't you dare answer that phone, she said. But I was already walking toward my office. The call was brief, confirming the next day's appointment and asking about the asset documentation. Professional and efficient. When I returned, she was sitting exactly where I had left her, staring at the business card. You actually made business cards? She said quietly. I believe in professional presentation, even for career transitions. This is not a career transition. It is our marriage. The same principles apply. When a partnership is not working, you explore other options. She stood up abruptly. Stop talking like this is some business deal. We have a life together, a house, mutual friends, history. We have assets and social connections. But a life together? I shook my head. Partners respect each other. They do not use each other as a punchline. Fine, I am sorry. I should not have said those things. There. Happy now. I studied her face. You are not sorry you said them. You are sorry there are consequences. That is not true. Then why did you call your mother instead of apologizing to me when you found the letter? She opened her mouth and closed it twice. You called her because you were worried about the logistics. How this affects you. What people will think. Whether you can convince me to back down. I finished my beer. But you have not once asked why I felt compelled to write that letter in the first place. Because you are being oversensitive about a stupid comment. There it is. I smiled. Still my fault. Still an overreaction to your perfectly reasonable behavior. I walked toward the stairs. I am going to pack a bag. I will stay somewhere else while we resolve this legally. You cannot just walk out. I paused on the third step. Watch me. That is covered under new opportunities. Did you not read the business card? 20 minutes later, I had a suitcase ready and was heading toward my car. She stood in the doorway watching, probably hoping I would change my mind. Is this really happening? She shouted. I opened the car door. You wanted someone with ambition who took risks and made bold moves. Congratulations, you got exactly what you asked for. I stayed at my coworker's house that night. He had gone through his own divorce 2 years earlier and understood the value of a quiet couch and no questions asked. She called 16 times before I blocked her number and shifted all communication to email only. The first email arrived at 6 a.m. We need to talk. This is getting out of control. The second at 8 a.m. I talked to a counselor. We can work this out. By noon there were 7 more, each escalating from reasonable to desperate to furious. I did not respond to any. Instead, I spent my lunch hour finalizing paperwork with the lawyer. Clean, efficient, no drama. Exactly how she always said I preferred things. The real breakthrough came on Thursday night when I stopped by the house to pick up more clothes. She was waiting in the kitchen with a full presentation prepared. I have been thinking, she began. And you are right about some things. I could be more supportive. I continued folding shirts into my suitcase. I talked to my sister. She said marriage counseling did wonders for them. We could try. Counseling requires 2 people who want to solve problems together. You want to solve the problem of me leaving. Different issue. Do not be sarcastic. I am trying here. I stopped packing and looked directly at her. Are you trying? Or are you trying to manage a situation that has spiraled out of your control? I want to save our marriage. Why? The question caught her off guard. Because we are married? Because we love each other? Love usually involves respect. And respect does not include public humiliation for entertainment value. She sat down heavily. It was not meant to be humiliating. People were laughing at me. Not with me. At my expense, for your entertainment. You are making this sound bigger than it was. I zipped the suitcase. Then explain why your friend Allison called my office today to apologize for laughing. Explain why your brother texted me saying he felt uncomfortable at the party. Explain why your mother left 2 voicemails saying she was embarrassed by your behavior. Her face went pale. Allison called you? Apparently, some people recognize inappropriate behavior even when you do not. I went toward the door, but she followed. Wait, what exactly did Allison say? That she realized how mean it was after thinking about it. That she would be mortified if her husband were treated that way publicly. She leaned against the wall. She said mean? Her exact words were cruel and unnecessary. But I am sure she was also overreacting. The fight drained out of her. Then, for the first time since this started, she looked genuinely shaken. I did not know people saw it that way. How did you think they saw it? 37 people watched you systematically tear down your husband's character. What reaction were you expecting? I thought, she paused. I thought they would agree with me about you needing to be more ambitious. So you were not joking. You were building consensus, trying to get validation for your disappointment in me. She did not answer, which was answer enough. My phone buzzed. A text from the lawyer. Documents ready for signing tomorrow. Proceed as planned. I replied, yes. Who was that? She asked. My new business partner. Very responsive and professional. Exactly the kind of person who values clear communication. Your lawyer? Someone who takes my concerns seriously and treats me with respect. A new concept, I know. I opened the front door. I will be here on Saturday to pick up the rest of my things. Please have your lawyer contact mine if you want to discuss the division of assets. Your lawyer? You really hired someone. I said I was exploring new opportunities. That is what people with ambition do. They follow through. This is insane. We can fix this. I paused at the door. Fix what exactly? Fix you having no respect for me. Fix years of you broadcasting your disappointment to friends and family. Fix the fact that you think apologizing means finding better ways to hide your contempt. That is not. It is exactly that. You are not sorry for feeling that way about me. You are sorry I found out and did something about it. I got in my car and rolled down the window. The business card was not a joke. I really am accepting applications for new partnerships with people who appreciate reliability, consistency, and yes, even predictability. It turns out those are valuable qualities for the right person. Her last email arrived at midnight. Fine. If you want to throw away 23 years over a stupid comment, that is your choice. But do not expect me to make things easy for you. I forwarded it to my lawyer with a note. Client seems to be shifting to hostile negotiation tactics. Please proceed accordingly. Some partnerships end with mutual respect and understanding. Others end with lawyers and files of evidence. She had apparently chosen what kind of divorce she wanted. Perfect. I was always better at business transactions anyway. 2 weeks after the split, she started making calls, damage control. Her sister called it. I called it panic. My friend Allison told me about the first call. She wanted to know if I really thought what she said was that bad. When I said yes, she got defensive and said, "Aren't you overreacting?" Her brother was more direct when he called me. She is telling people you had some kind of midlife crisis and abandoned your family for nothing. I told him that was not how I saw it, but the real reality check came from an unexpected source. I was having lunch downtown when her yoga instructor approached my table. I knew her from a few social events. I hope you do not mind me saying this, she began, but I am glad you finally stood up for yourself. What do you mean? She talks about you in class sometimes, always complaining about how you never want to try new restaurants or go on exotic trips, about how you are content with everything ordinary. She sat down. Honestly, it made many of us uncomfortable. You seem like a perfectly nice guy the times I have met you. She discusses our marriage in yoga class. Every week. Your job, my hobbies, my friends, always with that tone of someone inferior. She paused. I think she expected us to sympathize, but most of us have husbands who work ordinary jobs and pay the bills reliably. We were not exactly sympathetic. That afternoon, I got a call from our financial advisor. She wants to discuss modifying your investment strategy, he said. Apparently, she is worried about maintaining her current lifestyle during the divorce process. What did you tell her? That any changes to the accounts require both signatures, and that you are the primary holder on most of our arrangements. He paused. She seemed surprised by that information. Surprised how? She did not realize how much of your joint financial stability was tied to your income and planning. She asked if there were other accounts she did not know about. On Friday night, my coworker mentioned seeing her at the grocery store, looking at job listings on her phone in the parking lot. She looked very stressed, he said. She kept making calls and getting upset. The pattern was becoming clear. 23 years of steady income had allowed her to build a lifestyle she could not maintain on her own. The boring job she mocked had funded her freedom to criticize it. Her sister called me directly the following Tuesday. She is not handling this well. She said she thought you would cool off and come home by now. This is not about cooling off. I know. I was at the party. What she said was wrong. A pause. She has been calling everyone who was there, trying to get them to say it was not that bad. And what are they saying? Most people are avoiding her calls. The ones who answer are pretty honest about how uncomfortable it was. Including you? Especially me. I told her she crossed a line and that you had every right to end it. That weekend, I went to pick up more belongings at the house. She was waiting with a new strategy. I have been thinking about what you said, she began carefully, about respect and partnership. I continued packing books into boxes. Maybe I did take you for granted. Your stability, your income, the way you take care of everything so I do not have to worry. Interesting perspective. I called my cousin about that job opening at her company. It is a tough time to start, but it is something. I looked up. You are going to get a job? Well, maybe I need to because of the divorce, she said, as if the idea had never occurred to her before. 23 years of marriage, and you never considered what would happen if you had to support yourself. I never thought. I mean, we were supposed to be permanent. Permanent partnerships require maintenance, like respect and appreciation. She sat on the couch watching me pack. I really did not think what I said at the party was that serious. But you meant it. That is the difference. Maybe I did, but I did not mean to hurt you. I closed the box and labeled it. You meant to entertain people at my expense. Mission accomplished. The worst part, she said quietly, is that everyone keeps asking me what I am going to do now, about money, about the house, about everything. And I realize I do not know. That is what happens when you spend decades criticizing the person who provides your security. I never thought of it as security. I thought of it as conformity. I stopped packing. There is your problem. You saw my stability as a limitation instead of a foundation. And now you are going to find out what life is like without that foundation. Her phone rang. She looked and rejected the call. That is the third person today who does not want to talk to me. People who were at the party. Maybe they are embarrassed for you, or maybe they are on my side. There are no sides, there are only consequences. I loaded the last box into my car. She stood in the doorway again, like the first night I left. So this is really the end. 23 years. And it ends because I said you were boring. It ends because you spent 23 years believing I was boring and sharing that belief with everyone we know. The party was just the public finale. And if I change for whom? For me? Because that ship has already sailed. Change for yourself. That is between you and your conscience. I got in my car and rolled down the window one last time. Because being boring turned out to be exactly what I needed to be. Boring enough to plan ahead, save money, and hire a good lawyer. Boring enough to document everything and make smart decisions. I started the engine. Boring enough to recognize when it is time to move on. 6 months later, the divorce was finalized. Clean, efficient, and exactly as boring as she always said I preferred things. I kept the house. She received half of the liquid assets and alimony for 3 years. Her lawyer had pushed for permanent support, but my documentation of her years of public disrespect made that argument hard to sustain. The settlement meeting was brief. She signed the papers without looking at me once. Is this really what you want? She asked as we left the courthouse. It is what you created, I replied. That was the last conversation we had as husband and wife. The consequences were exactly what one would expect when someone spends years broadcasting their contempt and suddenly faces the fallout. Her friend Allison stopped by my office a month after the divorce. I thought you should know, she said. She is having a hard time. The part-time job turned full-time, but it barely covers her rent. She found an apartment, a studio across town. She could not afford anything bigger. Allison paused. She keeps saying she did not think you would really go through with it. What did you tell her? That she clearly did not know you very well. The social repercussion was swift and predictable. Our mutual friends had to choose sides, and most chose the person who did not spend years publicly shaming their spouse. Her book club stopped inviting her. Yoga class got awkward when other members started avoiding her. Her brother called me 6 months after the divorce. She asked me to ask you something, he said. I am listening. She wanted to know if you would consider a reconciliation. She says she has learned from this experience. What did you tell her? That learning experiences are expensive and that some lessons cannot be undone. Smart man. She is struggling with the job situation. It turns out 23 years out of the workforce makes you pretty unemployable for anything decent. That is unfortunate. She also mentioned that dating has not been going very well. Apparently, men her age want women who bring something to the table other than complaints about their ex-husband. I almost felt sorry for her. Almost. The truth was, I was thriving. The house was peaceful. My routine was exactly as predictable as I liked. I started taking woodworking classes on the weekends. I joined a hiking group, and yes, I even tried a few new restaurants. But the biggest change was internal. For the first time in decades, I was not walking on eggshells because of someone's mood or managing someone else's disappointment with my choices. A few months after the divorce, I met someone. A librarian who appreciated quiet evenings, a steady job, and men who showed up when they said they would. Revolutionary concepts. Apparently you are very reliable, she said after our third date. Is that a problem? It is refreshing. My last boyfriend called predictability the enemy of passion. It turns out unpredictability was just code for unemployed and irresponsible. We have been together for a year now. She finds my work interesting, asks about my day, and has never once suggested I lack ambition. She appreciates that I take care of our finances, plan our trips, and yes, even make the same snack every day. It is amazing, she told her sister, to be with someone who has an organized life. Her sister laughed. Careful, that sounds dangerously like conformity. No, she replied. Conformity is staying with someone who makes you feel bad about yourself. This is the opposite. Last month, I ran into my ex-wife at the grocery store. She looked older, tired. The confidence she had at our anniversary dinner had completely vanished. Are you okay? She said. I feel fine. I heard you were dating someone. I am. Is she better than me? I thought for a moment about that question. She is different. She appreciates things you never valued. Like what? Consistency, reliability, partnership without performance reviews. She nodded slowly. I keep thinking about that night, the party. If I could take it back. You cannot. And honestly, I am glad it happened. Glad. It forced me to recognize something I had been ignoring for years, that I deserve more than someone who saw my strengths as weaknesses. I grabbed my card and started walking away. Was I really that bad? She called after me. I stopped and looked back. You turned me into a joke at my own anniversary dinner. You spent decades making me feel like I was failing at being the person you wanted me to be. Then you acted surprised when I stopped trying. I am sorry. I know you are, but I am sorry does not undo 23 years of damage. So what happens now? Now you find out who you are without someone to criticize, and I keep being exactly who I have always been with someone who appreciates it. I walked away for the last time. The boring guy with the steady job and the predictable routine had done exactly what she said he would never do. I had taken the biggest risk of my life, made the boldest move possible, and I came out on top. It turns out I had more ambition than either of us imagined. I just needed the right partnership to show it. Comment. This story really got me thinking about the quiet strength it takes to choose yourself. It is a powerful reminder that setting boundaries is not an act of aggression, but a necessary act of self-preservation. The way we speak about the people we love, especially in public, often reveals the health of our relationships. Sometimes, the very qualities others might label as boring, like consistency and reliability, are actually the cornerstones of a secure and peaceful life. True growth often begins when we take full responsibility for the consequences of our own words and actions. Healing is not just about leaving a difficult situation, but about rediscovering your worth in an environment that nurtures it. You deserve to be with people who see your strengths as strengths, not as flaws to be fixed. I hope this encourages you to reflect on what genuine partnership and respect look like in your own life. Always remember that your peace is worth protecting. If you liked it, don't forget to leave a comment and support the channel by subscribing. See you in the upcoming stories.